so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm Lori LeBay, the host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks. Before we get to our show today, I always just like to explain to new listeners who we are and what we do and why we're here. Bottom line, Alzheimer's Speaks is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. So not only do we have the radio show, we have a blog, we have a resource website. We do something called Dementia Chats, where I interview experts who actually are diagnosed with dementia. We have very interesting conversations in terms of their perception of the world, their diagnosis, and how they would like to be treated and live their lives. And we also have a YouTube channel, Twitter, all of those social media platforms. So please check us out. We'd love to engage with you. Bottom line, I got started with Alzheimer's Speaks because my own mom had dementia for 30 years. So she started having symptoms with her memory and executive function in her mid-50s, which is my age right now, and she lived till the age of 86. And so her disease was really probably the biggest gift I'll ever receive, changed my view on life, what I want to do with my life, and so Alzheimer's Speaks was born. We're really about raising everyone's voice and sharing knowledge and just joining forces and having everyday conversations about life with dementia. I think that's really the only way we're going to remove stigmas attached to this disease, as well as push our dementia care culture forward in terms of what services do we need and how do we want those delivered and by whom. So at our core, we believe collaboration is really the only way we're going to win this battle. And I know that that's working thanks to each and every one of you. You see, every time you like one of our platforms, if it's the radio show, if it's a Facebook page, if it's our blog or our YouTube videos or dementia chats, you're pushing it out to your sphere of influence. And all of us have bigger spheres than we really even know. And a lot of those people in our spheres are dealing with dementia, but may not have told us yet. And so the more information that's out there, the easier it's going to be for them to reach out and grab it when they're ready. So again, I just want to thank all of you for supporting us, because in doing so, you had a large impact. You got Alzheimer's Speak named the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz, and also recognized by Maria Shriver as one of her architects of change. And I can tell you that would not have happened without any of you, because we don't buy likes and we don't do all the things we're supposed to do or what Google tells us we need to do. Everything we do really is pretty much word of mouth and sharing information. And in doing that, I would also like to open up the door, because many of our listeners might be our next guests, because we do interview everyone here, from people who are having symptoms to those diagnosed, to family members and friends, along with professionals caring for somebody with dementia. We've had Harvard research on, we've had movie directors, singers and songwriters and authors, advocates. So everything is game. We all can play a role in shifting our dementia care culture. And we would love to be able to highlight your thoughts and insights when it comes to that, because there is no right or wrong way to do this. I would also, before we get started with our interview today, just like to let people know, because a lot of people are asking, we're doing a dementia-friendly cruise and symposium November 11th through the 18th. That'll be going to the Eastern Caribbean, so we're going to be out in the Bahamas. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got myself will be speaking along with 4 individuals with dementia. Harry Urban, Michael Ellenbogen, Lori Shear, Mary Reed, and actually Brian LeBlanc is now going to join us. So really now we've got 5. And then Cindy Lazinski, who heads up a dementia-friendly community in Colorado, along with Becky Watson, who is a music therapist, will be joining us. And, we have enough people to go on the cruise, but we still have some openings. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear. We'd love more people to join us. If you would care to do so, just go to alzheimersspeaks.com. You'll find information right on the homepage that will direct you to more information. There's a little video about it as well. I also want to highlight a giveaway. Our friends at Newman Long-Term Care are giving 5 copies away of Maria Shriver's coloring book, which is called Color Your Mind, in the month of August. And again, on any of our blogs, you can get information and the link to go directly to Newman Long-Term Care to go ahead and register for that. So I think that's all my house cleaning for right now. So let me go ahead and introduce our first guest. We have Rick Nash with us, and his career in the first half of his life was really being compliant when it comes to disability services in the UK and Australia. And the second half of his career started in 1997 when he started developing and running his own business in the IT field, specifically in the medical space. And he is now the founder of a company called Memorez. He's going to share his story today and tell us about Memorez, which is spelled Memorez. So, Rick, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Laurie. Thanks very much for inviting us on. That's much appreciated.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. Why don't you tell people a little bit about Memorez and what exactly it is and how you came up with the name for it?
Sure. Basically, we're an Australian company. About a year ago, we visited my wife's family up on the East Coast here in Australia. And her extended family, her aunts and so on, they all live pretty much in the same geographical region here in Australia. And so she has her mother, who's 86, her auntie, who's 97, and another auntie who is the youngest one, Joan, who is 82 or 83. And Joan has Alzheimer's, and we had seen the fairly rapid effect of Alzheimer's with Joan over a period of about a year, and had gone from a lady that was very articulate to effectively not really being able to converse. But there was a birthday party, and so we went up to Nambucca, and we had the three ladies there. And the day after the party, we sat down, and we, as you do, got all the old photographs out and so on. And, they were a generation born during the Depression in Australia, which affected people in Australia as well as the US. So we were going through all the photographs and pictures of the girls, 4 and 5 years old, riding in a sulky to school and things like that, obviously old black and white photographs. And I was really as much interested in the actual stories behind the photographs, and Joan was really unable to effectively contribute verbally to that, although we were all sitting around the table together. So it just really struck me that here were some incredibly interesting and amazing stories. For argument's sake, the first car that ever drove through Armidale in New England here, that they had the day off school and were waving flags in the main high street when the car drove through. An American plane that had crash landed in the paddock at the farm in 1942 when it was training, and just some really amazing stories. And it was actually a really lovely day looking back through those photographs and so on. And when we were driving home, I remember saying to Jackie, to my wife, that look, this may have been the last opportunity to have captured those stories. And at 97 and 86, and with Joan as well, it may be that we don't see those people again. I mean, Australia's a pretty big country, and again, travel's not that easy on occasion. So I kind of resolved to think about or to find a piece of technology that would help capture those stories in a 21st century context. And music was obviously important to these guys. So I wanted something that could capture music and their favorite music. I wanted to be able to use video. I wanted to be able to capture those stories, in living stories effectively, direct to video. And I wanted, obviously, for people to be able to share those stories or archive them, perhaps have the ability to have those stories kept essentially in a vault as well for release at a later stage if they didn't want to release them, in real time. So I kind of had a fairly extensive wish list of what I wanted from a platform, and I thought there would probably already be something out there that we could use with Jackie's mum and aunties. But when we did some research, we couldn't find it. And so, being an IT company, between the commercial contracts that we had, I asked the guys to build a resource, an online resource that had the ability to capture all of those stories and preserve them essentially for people themselves, for friends and family, and so on. And out of that came Memorez, Memorez, as you've articulated, Laurie. We wanted a single term for it, and that was the one that we came up with. So it's essentially an online platform that has the ability to save by text, by video, by images, by importing photographs and video and so on. So it's a very extensive platform. It's very simple to use. We try to make it as simple as we could. It was not really a platform that initially we developed specifically for people living with dementia or to support the dementia community in general. But it's something that as we started to talk to people in that space, everybody was saying, look, it's a great resource, and we'd like to be able to, run it out and get people using it and so on. So that was really the sort of genesis of it. It was purely by accident, but it was something that I felt very strongly about at a social level. That and things and timing, I think, is also one of those things where, for argument's sake, there's a lot of interest in ancestry generally now, and who do you think you are, programs on TV and so on. My view about it was really, why wait until you're dead until those stories are conveyed? And so that, as I say, that was really how it first came about.
Okay, so it was really through a personal experience and need for connections, and it sounds like seeing the reaction to those photos and into those memories in whatever format, if it's photo, if it was music, if it was written text, all of those kind of emerged together. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right, and it's interesting as well. The very first person that effectively trialed Memorez was a 77-year-old, I think he is, Tom. And it is fascinating how music is obviously part of everybody's biography, and irrespective, of your cognitive function, music probably is almost, a soul kind of thing. And I remember having this guy Tom, who does have some cognitive issues, pin basically a very obscure jazz musician to his timeline in Memorez. And I was actually amazed our system picked it up, but it was a jazz guy from the 1930s. And when the music started, Tom basically just burst into tears. And of course, I was absolutely mortified that, what had we done? But what it was that his father, who came from a very working class family, every time we would come home from work, would sit and try and play by ear this piece of jazz music on the piano. And Tom hadn't thought about this for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And suddenly he could see his father in front of him sitting there at the piano effectively and playing this piece of jazz music very poorly, Tom said. But it just really brought home to him, that something from 50 or 60 years ago was a really important memory, but he had effectively, not that he'd repressed that, but the same as all of us, we have pretty full lives, and there are things that on occasion we forget, even really important things. And, it was a really powerful moment for me to really understand that the music component in memories is very important. And also, look, I can remember seeing a program probably 5, 6, 7 years ago in Australia where a not-for-profit in the US had developed, and obviously very well known, had developed now a platform or a program where people were given iPods and their favorite music and so on, and people became very animated, even with very, very advanced forms of dementia. So music clearly has an integral and important part, I believe, in everybody's lives, and certainly an important part of memories.
Okay. When it comes to music in terms of in pictures and text, how is that formulated in terms of pulling that together? Is it individual things, or is it made into, like a little video, or, can you explain a little bit more on how are those things utilized and uploaded, and are they merged together to tell the story? Or?
So essentially what we wanted to have, and again, look, I have to say, Laurie, as you know, we're not experts in dementia. My view about dementia is the only experts probably really are the people living with it or who've had familial exposure to it, probably as carers and so on. We're not making any ambit claim, and we're very keen to get feedback from the dementia community on the platform, and in terms of how to make it more relevant and simpler and easier to use and so on. So there are a number of threads effectively in the platform. So you can import existing photographs. We felt that was an important component. And the other thing with photographs, of course, is that they tend to be dispersed around people's families. So if you look at Jackie's family, for argument's sake, she's got some. The two brothers who are farmers have got some. Norma and Joan and Laurel have still got some. There's no kind of homogenous space to effectively keep those photographs. So the ability to import photographs, it was an important feature, so we obviously built that function. Existing videos, so people have, obviously video that they would have of family and friends and so on that they, potentially could import into Memorez. We have a search function in Memorez, so an image search function. So if you had, if your first pet was a black Labrador, which in my case it was, but I don't have any pictures of him, then we can search an image for a black Labrador and pin that to a particular memory. We call them memory lanes. The music, as I say, is again an important component to it. So with the music, you effectively search within the platform, so you don't have to go to Google or anything. You search within the platform for John Denver or Neil Diamond or Bing Crosby, whoever it is. It will throw up on the screen all of the albums by that band or singer, and you can pick the album which resonates the most from your youth or adolescence or whatever. And when you go to and pin that effectively to a memory lane, and when you go to open it, it will open up all of the singles or songs on that particular album, and you can play 30 seconds of each of those songs. Once it goes over 30 seconds, we have considerable issues around copyright, which adds a very significant amount to the cost for us to run the platform. So at the moment, each particular song will play for 30 seconds. So, and again, you can write by text, you can write stories, you can record stories by video. We've integrated a piece of software or developed a piece of software where you can talk about particular stories to the camera. So if you want to, do that, then that's all retained within the system. So it's essentially a very holistic platform with multiple ways to record stories. It does have a series of memory jog questions, which may be more resonant in this space. So for argument's sake, we have it broken down into a range of different parts of your life, your childhood, your career, your family, and so on and so forth. So each of those individual components have a series of prompt questions to enable you to, hey, where was the first place you can remember living? What was your first memory of a sibling, for argument's sake? Questions that are designed to really just help get the process started. The other thing is, the other thing is from the reason to do this is I believe not necessarily so someone can leave a complete legacy. I mean, in reality, our children, my children who are 18 and 16, are essentially doing this kind of thing contemporaneously with their everyday lives with the advent of social media. So they're essentially building their life stories online. In 10 or 15 years, they'll be able to, to go, oh God, I remember that party and there's video of them and so on and so forth. But for those of us that are over 40, a lot of those memories, or even 30, a lot of those memories are still, and stories are still stuck in our brain. They actually have not had a forum or a mechanism to save them. And it is a sharing platform. I mean, one of the things that we've recognized is that memories are really for sharing, and life stories are for sharing. And so we've integrated into memories the ability to share with whoever you wish to share with. To everyone that you share with, you have the ability for them to either just view your memories, they can add to a memory, or they can edit. So in the event of someone that's has an extensive family group, they can invite people to join those memories, and they can choose with each person what level of credentials essentially they're allowing them to have. So whether that person can just view it, they can add. So for argument's sake, I was actually doing something last night where a friend of mine's on memories, and I have credentials to add a memory, and I added a memory about an event that happened at our boarding school, 40-something years ago, and he had forgotten about it completely. So sharing is a fundamental component of memories, but it's very, it's very tight. The average share on memories at the moment is around 18 to 19 shares. So it's not a social media platform like Facebook where you might be happy to have everybody, view that content. It's something that we're trying to hold much more tightly. And a lot of those memories are things that, are very personal, and you can elect to have those in the public domain, or you can elect to keep those private. And as I said, you can also elect to have certain memories held until a future date. So if, for argument's sake, you have a story that might be actually, something that's negative. It may not be a particularly great memory, and you don't want to upset a family member or whatever. You can obviously store that and keep it private until after you've passed on, or at some other predetermined time.
Okay. So family can use this. This is something that could be accessible, let's say, if you had to place somebody into a community. So this could be shared with staff as well?
Yes, it could be. It could be shared with carers, and it's interesting you say that, because it's something that, I mean, we see it as a very intimate. Memories is a very intimate thing. And again, we're not making any ambit claims to be experts in this space, but one of the things that has become evident to us, and my wife is actually an RN and has worked in aged care provision as well, and one of the things that has historically upset her has been that with the people that she works with, is they have very little time other than that to care for people's primary physical needs. That it's very difficult for her to really find out about people other than when she's doing a transition or an induction. it tends to be very based around the pharmacology, the behavioural traits and so on and so forth. And the ability for Memorez to instantly, at an induction, for argument's sake, for somebody to be able to just scan either a QR code, or effectively open up the Memorez account, to actually give someone or carers a sense of the whole individual. I mean, we're very keen, and I know you are, Laurie, as well, and I'm sure most people living with dementia, would concur that, people are still human beings, irrespective of behaviours or, pharmacological intake or any of those things, and any of those just overt physiological things. But people are fundamentally human and sentient human beings, and we're more than the sum of what we present. And so those experiences, we were talking to somebody the other day who was one of Australia's premier ballerinas. Mm-hmm. And for all intents and purposes, nobody at the service in which she was resigning had any idea at all. I mean, we were chatting to someone whose supposed behaviours and, in inverted commas, wandering at 3 to 4 a.m., led to him potentially being, given more medication, when in fact, in this instance, the guy's background in the UK was he was a milkman. So his whole working life had been getting up at 3 in the morning and delivering milk. And so therefore he was, he was habituated to that, and it was part of him. There was part of his life. And, so at a clinical level, we're very keen for people to be able to use Memorez, as you say, at a clinical level or a professional carer level, to be able to go, look, this, the presentation is not the whole person. And everybody has a biography. Everybody has important stories. Everybody's had a life. And here is a bit of it, and to us, we see that as an important part of Memorez for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. In terms of usage, because you're over in the UK and I'm over in the US, is there any limitations in terms of being able to access this platform around the world?
No, there isn't, and that's obviously the beauty of technology and the internet. I mean, some of the terminology, I have to say, and even the way that we've couched some of the questions, we have actually amended some of those to be more geocentric. But essentially, the fundamental platform is identical, irrespective of your sort of geography. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know some of the terms we use are different over here. More people say caregiver, or we're trying to train them into care partner or care companion, and I know over there a lot of people say carers. And, yes. So just some of those little marketing pieces in terms of people identifying who they are, or using, I know many areas don't like to use the word sufferer, and yet some countries do. And it's all those little pieces sometimes, getting people to know that you're out there and ready. Now, is this product readily available to people today, or is it still in the pipeline of development?
No, we have users currently, and it's obviously not a product that's exclusively available in the dementia community. As I said, anybody over 35, 40 would probably find it a useful tool to be able to record their stories. We are very keen to support the dementia community generally, again, because we have some familial exposure to it, and it's a space where, having just started to get our heads around it, we understand that there's probably a lot of support and work that can be done in that space that you guys live and work in every day. So it is available currently. We are in the process of introducing version 2.0. As you know, Laurie, software is never finished effectively. And people are, we like to think that we're responsive to feedback, essentially. Look, we're not precious about things that we build. We're very much trying to understand the user experience. Again, to my knowledge at the moment, none of us that are involved with Memorez have dementia. We're very keen to engage, across that community, and particularly with people living with dementia, which is how important is it to them, for argument's sake, to be able to capture those memories for later utilisation. We'd be into it. We're talking to a couple of people at the moment, actually in the States, in relation to some clinical trials with Memorez. I mean, it's kind of struck us as interesting that a disease where one of the most significant presentations is the inability to recall memories has very little clinical studies, or very few clinical studies, to articulate about, if we capture those memories and stories at an early stage, how can we utilize those in the later stage of dementia presentation? So, for argument's sake, one of the things that we're building at the moment, I think I mentioned to you just before we came on air, is that we're going to actually, in Memorez, you have the ability to allocate favourite memories. So, you might have 1,000 individual stories and memories across the whole platform, but you have the ability, when you're articulating those memories, whether it's by video or text or image or whatever, you have the ability to actually select the memories you want to be put essentially in the public domain, family and friends and so on. So one of the things that we're keen on doing is to get quick access, for argument's sake, to those favourite memories through a piece of wearable jewellery or something of that nature, where you can effectively run or scan the phone over the back of a brooch or the back of a bracelet or something, or a key ring even, and essentially get access to those favourite memories. So one of the things that we have heard a lot about is and I'm sure that it would make me very anxious, is when people have periods of anxiety that are living with dementia, the ability to potentially instantly access for that individual, their favourite memories, even if they're not able to recall those favourite memories at that particular time. It's kind of interesting for us from a clinical perspective that, hey, has anybody done this? I mean, it just seems a bit strange to us that, here is a way to potentially reduce anxiety without medicating people and so on. But we don't have any data around it, obviously, because it's very early days. But it's we're fascinated to engage with the community. But the real teachers in this space, and I know you concur with that, are really the people living with dementia. It's not someone with a PhD that's working in a white lab coat, in a big pharmaceutical company. It's the people who are living every day, with it. And so they're really the teachers, and so they're the guys that we really would like to engage with and get their feedback, good, bad, and indifferent.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of getting people's feedback, are you at this point, are you giving the program out to certain individuals for that feedback, or are you looking for feedback just from those who purchased the program?
Well, we are. When we launch version 2.0, one of the things we've been thinking about, and again, it's really to do with feedback, and we were going to put this out actually essentially through our connections in the dementia space, is that we're thinking that, particularly for people living with dementia, that we may actually just produce a light version of Memorez. So at the moment, it's a very comprehensive package. It's got all these bells and whistles and the new QR, component to it, the instant memory access, all that, it's a Carlos Fandango whiz bang special product. One of the things we've been wondering is whether there would be an appetite in the space for us to build a light version of it, which doesn't have so much bandwidth cost and all the rest of it. Because the big cost, for argument's sake, in Memorez is hosting the videos. Because we host them internally, we don't send it off to YouTube. We don't do any of that kind of stuff, or any of the other platforms. Because if you're using Memorez and there's a picture of your, a video of your nan or whatever, you probably don't want to leave Memorez to go to look at nan on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as anything else, there are privacy issues attached to it. So we're hosting a very significant amount of video, and that's really where the hard costs, apart from obviously paying the staff and stuff, but the real hard costs for this sit around the utilization of video. So one of the things that we're thinking of doing is essentially building a light version of it, where we say, hey guys, we think this is really incredibly important that people living with dementia, if they don't have the ability to pay $30 or $40 one-off for access to the full Memorez account, here is a free version. And essentially, we might limit, for argument's sake, the storage of videos on it, and just make it a slightly lighter version. So I'm keen that everybody that wants to get access to being able to store their memories or record their life stories can do it, irrespective of their ability to pay. So that's probably a month or two away. We've got some other stuff that we're working on at the moment, but that's probably something that we feel would be a gift essentially to the dementia community if there was an appetite for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have other things kind of in the pipeline that you think would work well to, help improve dementia, or life with dementia?
In relation to Memorez specifically, Laurie,
mm-hmm.
or
yeah.
There are as usual. We've always got things in development. What I think is, where we see the application of it is, we don't really see it as necessarily as a therapeutic tool. We see it really much more as a socially useful way, and again for anybody to be able to capture and obviously store and safeguard all of those kind of memories. So it's one of those things where we're always throwing, as you do, and throwing ideas around, and is this something that's relevant and so on. In relation to dementia, we don't have really sufficient. I would say at the moment we've got several thousand accounts out there. I would say for people that are living with dementia, we might have maybe currently 100 or a couple of hundred. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but certainly less than 300. And so therefore it's again about getting that feedback and saying, look guys, we can build. So you tell us essentially. I think that we're at the point with Memorez where we've built what we think is a really well-resolved platform with some really great features, and the instant access with the QR code we think probably has a lot of relevance in dementia, and for a whole host of reasons. And both from both a carer level, from the individual, and so on. So that's something I think we believe has particular resonance. But we're very open, Laurie, as you know, to building things that we believe or that people tell us they want. So if we had half a dozen people even said, look, we would really love to add X feature, well, we can build it. And so therefore, again, it's really about getting that feedback from the dementia community as to what you guys want us to build, and kind of your wish is our command. We're very happy to develop things, even if there's not a huge use for it. I mean, even if it's a more bespoke or a custom application, then we're happy to build it. And I'm happy to get the guys to spend time on developing it.
Okay. I guess the last question I have is, have you looked at engaging any of kind of academia or third parties to kind of gauge the therapeutic aspect of Memorez as well as its social?
Yes, we have, and we've got a couple of clinicians that are experts in dementia, and again, both based out of the States, where I mean, it's interesting for us again because we are just lay people, but I would be interested, for argument's sake, in how if we're able to record at an early stage in somebody's diagnosis, which again, we were amazed seems like it can take 2 or 3 years to get a resolved diagnosis of dementia. But things like, if we're able to capture at an early stage those memories, those stories, at a clinical or a therapeutic level, how does reflecting on those in some context as that disease progresses, how does that potentially help ameliorate, anxiety, the ability to instantly reference memories, or even the ability to look at cognitive functioning from a memory perspective is how much of that memory and story recollection has been lost. And as I said, it is a little bit surprising to us that very little very few clinical papers seem to have been written around that issue. And yet it appears, as the primary symptom, so again, we think that and it is interesting talking to these guys that, they concur. Yes, look, it is fascinating that we don't really seem to take a lot of time to capture those memories and those stories, and to be, even at a clinical level, to be able to review that as that disease progresses, and to be able to use those memories and stories potentially to help mitigate, anxiety behaviours and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's a very interesting space, and we're just very, very much at the periphery of it, but we're happy to help in any way we can. So.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience that maybe we haven't mentioned so far? Other than we definitely need to give them contact information for you.
Sure. Look, I think the other thing is, and we've spoken, Laurie, about this previously, but one of the other things that we're certainly happy to do is to, now whether it's at an individual level or it's at an entity level, we're very happy to put Memorez as a platform into the mix as a fundraising mechanism or a fundraising tool. We're very open to that. We're very happy to rebate monies to third parties or to support individual causes. And so, yeah, look, I'd just like to throw that into the mix. But really, just generally, that feedback is really the key thing. One of the other things that we've done with Memorez as well, and it may or may not be so germane in the dementia space, because we're absolutely convinced, of its efficacy and how powerful it can be. But essentially, we have a guarantee on Memorez. So, look, if people use it and trial it for a month and go, look, I really haven't seen any value out of it, then we're obviously happy to rebate, the cost, and no problem at all. So it's a kind of, you have to buy it, but then you can try it, and if it's not something that you feel has benefited, we certainly have no problem with rebating our cost to a user. And we felt again that was appropriate. That there may be people out there that don't really believe that they're getting value, and we wouldn't want to argue with that. I can tell you currently with X thousand users, we've not had a single person that's wanted to us to rebate. That doesn't mean it won't ever happen, and obviously for that reason, we're happy to say, hey, look, have a go at it. If it really doesn't work, if it really doesn't resonate, then that's fine. It's okay. But have a go at it, and if it doesn't work, we're happy to rebate.
Okay, great. And the best way to get a hold of you, Rick, would be what?
Yeah, probably is Rick at Memorez, so RICK, little hash, at MEMOREZ, Rick at memorez.org.
Okay.
And the website is memorez.org as well. So
wonderful.
Either of those.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And again, if people have questions or want to reach out and talk with Rick, you can just go to the website, www, and that's Memorez, MEMOREZ.org. Or you can contact him at rick@memorez.org. Correct?
That's correct, Laurie.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, you have a great rest of your week. And again, I appreciate your time, and I think the work you're doing is very exciting and will be helpful for a lot of families. So kudos to you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Laurie, and you the same. You know, you're an inspiration with what you're doing, and we're always happy to help in any way we can.
Great. Thank you. I'm just going to wrap up our show here with a little bit more housekeeping. Some of you might be new to the Alive and Social Network, and I just want to let you know that, there's lots of shows here that you can check out. One of them that happens to be my favorite is What's for Dinner Tonight with Rachel Perrin, who is the culinary director for Kowalski's Market. And her show is usually about 10 to 15 minutes long, and it's perfect when you're hungry and yet you don't know what the heck to make for dinner. So she has a lot of little assistance plans in dinner preparation. And you can also go to Kowalskis.com. That's www.kowalskis. KOWALSKIS.com. And they have a complete, really delicious and seasonal menu suggestions available to you. The other thing with Alive and Social is all of our shows are archived here. So Alzheimer's Speaks has been doing this show for 6 years now. And so you can go back and listen to them to your heart's content, and go ahead and you can subscribe through, iTunes or Spreaker or all kinds of places, and, just get them directly popping up on your computer or your phone there. Again, I want to encourage people who are interested in going on our dementia-friendly cruise, November 11th through the 18th. Again, that will be to the Caribbean through Holland, America. Go to AlzheimerSpeaks.com. Right on the homepage, there'll be information. I've done a short little video that'll talk a little bit about what our expectations are. Basically, it'll be for people with early to mid memory loss or dementia and their care partners. And this will be something where we'll be all working together, so we're not going to have separate respite, but we're going to have plenty of time to learn and build community and yet kind of relax and rejuvenate as well. Last Dementia Chats we did talked about social engagement through the internet and how that adds value to people's relationships. And you'll hear from those again with dementia and what it's like to build these relationships through social media, and then what happens when they actually meet somebody live and in person. And then again, if you are interested in trying to win one of 5 copies for Maria Shriver's Color Your Mind book, go to Newman Long-Term Care, and you'll be able to get more information there. Again, you can find information on any of our blog posts regarding that as well. I want to give a last shout out to the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. They just do some really cool things using holistic modes, and also to the Caregiver Alert Center. And they are fabulous. They've got a wonderful system. If you're worried about somebody possibly wandering off, you can be prepared ahead of time. The cost is very inexpensive per year, and then it's just a matter of calling and having a button pushed and coordinating with the police if somebody were to go missing. It's just kind of a nice safety net to have. They also have this system not just for people who might go wandering, but for pets and for children and for people who travel around the world. We live in very strange times. So take advantage of the Caregiver Alert Center, and you can, again, find information on our website regarding that. I'm going to wrap up, I think, with one of our tips from our trifold that you can download off AlzheimerSpeaks.com. And this one is just to give yourself credit daily for engaging in a respectful fashion. Sometimes life is busy and it's difficult, and we don't give ourselves credit for what we do right. So please go ahead and appreciate all you are doing well and right. We can always improve, but make sure that you pat yourself on the back for your efforts. Until next time, have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Hi, this is Suzanne Newman, host of the Answers for Elders podcast and radio show. We are the North Star that guides you through the complicated journey of senior care with trusted experts in money, law, living solutions, and more. So join us on this station, your favorite podcast channel, or just go to AnswersForElders.com. Meet the Wayshowers who will help your journey go a lot easier.